Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Before we get started, I just wanted to give a huge shout out and word of gratitude for those who are keeping us going. Everybody who's working in the medical field, all of our doctors and nurses, all of the people working in the hospitals, and all of the people at the grocery stores, convenience stores, and gas stations who are keeping us going. Thank you. That means so much. And to those of us who are confined at home, keep it up. Nobody likes this and it's not fun, but there's a lot to be gained from it, especially our health. So thank you, everyone. We are in this together. Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christy. Today I'm joined by Aimee Carlson, currently in beautiful sunny Arizona. Aimee is the Toxin Terminator and has a podcast called the Toxin Terminator as well. Welcome, Aimee. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Christy, for having me on. I'm so glad to be here and be part of your show.
Thank you so much. So Toxin Terminator, that name just kind of grabbed me. And I said, okay, we need to talk about this. How long have you been doing your podcast?
I just started in August, so we're going to be coming up on our year here in a few short months. But I've been doing what I talk about for 7 years.
Yeah, and how did you get started on this? Why toxins? Why did you get into that?
Well, you want the long story or the shortened version?
Hey, we've got time.
So I have been an entrepreneur my entire life. I grew up in the automotive world. I actually was a mechanic for many, many years, and I owned franchises for over 30 years. So my world revolved around a lot of environmental toxins. And what I found is as I became an adult, or in my adult years, I had a lot of things going on with my health and a lot of chronic disease. And never was my environment being talked about when I went to doctors and I was trying to be treated and given solutions to be looking for. And what I found about 7 years ago was, and I had honestly felt like, I need to disclose this too, that what I was dealing with in my life with chronic disease, number one is I had all kinds of reproductive issues going on with my body. Everything happening in that general area was a mess in my body. Number two, I suffered from migraine headaches on a very regular basis where I actually would lose vision on my left side. And I also had really strange things happen from time to time in my body that there was really no explanations for and had to be medically treated for. And of course, when there's something wrong with the body, we go to the doctor. That's where we're supposed to be healed. We want to be fixed, we go to the doctor. And I wasn't giving any solutions. And I really was at a point in my life where really this was my lot in life. This is what I was going to deal with. This was as good as it got. And this was how life was going to be for the rest of my time here on this lovely earth. And I met an acquaintance and she kept inviting me to one of, those kind of classes that we avoid, like what's that?
Like an infomercial type of class?
Exactly. I avoided it like the plague. It was like, no, I don't want to learn anything. And it was all about essential oils is what it was. And I'm like, that's hippie voodoo, far out there. I don't want anything to do with it. And I just kept pushing it off, but she was relentless and kept inviting me. And so finally, after a year, I said, you know what? I will come to your class. Will you stop inviting me if I just come? And she said, yes, I promise I will not contact you again. So I went. And I explored the essential oils. I had no idea what they were. And quite frankly, I thought they all stunk. I didn't think it was something I wanted to use. But I was kind of piqued a little bit with my interest. And so I did do some investigating into it. I started checking things out. And I did order some oils from her because I got a result. I stayed after class and I talked with her a little bit about, some of the symptoms I was experiencing, and she gave me something to try. And for the first time, and I can't tell you how many years, I slept the night through. And it was like, that was all it took. I said, I don't know what that stuff is, but sign me up. And that sent me on a journey of learning, about environmental toxins that were in my home, because I thought toxins were very much like in the automotive world, right? It was big factories. It was you think of the smoke pillars coming out of the factories, and that's toxins. We think about what's in our water. I didn't realize that the stuff I was using every single day was harming my body. And once I started learning that, and I started removing some of those everyday toxins, I stopped having headaches. And I haven't had a migraine in 7 years. It's incredible.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And you were also around petrochemical products in your job, right? Oils and antifreeze and all of those really heavy duty chemicals. But that's not what you're talking about.
No. And of course that had some bearing on me, right? I read the MSDS sheets, in the automotive world, that you have to keep those books. And when I first started in there, it was books, and we had to keep them so that every employee could read what their potential risk, was being exposed to this type of chemicals, and specifically used oil, used antifreeze. The new stuff is really not that harmful to the body. It's the used, product that causes the harm to our body, as well as the methylate in the window washer fluid. So there was a lot of different, and the stuff that we clean with. Oh my word! You want to talk about horrible for you? Just breathing all of that in, but it was the stuff. It was laundry soap.
Really?
And what I cleaned with that were the huge factors in what I got rid of and got rid of my headaches.
Laundry soap.
Laundry soap.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's the fragrance. It's really, and I think it's a tie-in. There's fragrance in laundry soap. Think about it. I was the queen of wanting my clothes to smell like a lilac field, and we think about, we associate clean with smelling, right? It needs to have a scent to it. Otherwise we're thinking it's not clean. Mm-hmm. And I had, I used the dryer sheets, and I even had those little bars that you put in the dryer. So as the clothes are tumbling around, it's pulling that, that scent, to be on the clothes. So I had all kinds of scents around me, and that was causing lots of issues. And there's other things too, like parabens and phthalates and sodium lauryl sulfate, that we're not being told that are harmful to us, and they really, really are. I thought if it's sold in the store, it's safe.
Right.
The government, is looking after our best interest, and it has to be safe if it's put on the shelf, and that's simply not true.
Well, and we're layering them, aren't we? I mean, we've got the laundry soap, we've got the fabric softener, we've got the dryer sheets, and that's just in laundry. And then
we haven't even
we haven't even gotten to shampoo and personal products.
Right.
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 And many of those things that you're talking about, the sodium lauryl sulfates and the phthalates, those contribute to estrogen in the body. And,
Correct.
and I have the same issues
Mm-hmm.
that didn't realize what that was.
Yes.
So we're just surrounded in it.
Right. So we think about, God made our bodies wonderfully, right? We have this beautiful detox system that's been created. It consists of our blood and our lungs and the liver and the kidneys and our lymphatic system. They all work intricately together to remove toxins from our body because he knew there's going to be some exposures. He's so much wiser than we are, and knew what was coming, or whatever the case may be. But this filtering system, right, that we have already designed in our body is created to remove all that stuff. Well, what happens, like you're describing, is called bioaccumulation. So when we get exposed to, for instance, if all you did was use shampoo and nothing else that had parabens in it, perhaps the level of parabens in your shampoo might not be toxic to your body, and your body could handle removing it and filtering it out. The body says, hey, not good for me. I'm going to just remove that out. We can't use it for energy, fuel, whatever. We're pulling it out. The problem becomes it's in your shampoo, it's in your conditioner, it's in your body wash, it's in your lotion, it's in your deodorant, it's in your face, it's in all of those things.
Yeah, just layers upon layers upon layers. And the house cleaning products too, the window cleaners and the counter cleaners and the floor cleaners and all of this. It's like a soup we're in.
It is. And what's fun is, I used to have a caddy that all my cleaning supplies were carried in, right? So you had to have the toilet bowl cleaner and the bathroom cleaner and the kitchen cleaner and the window cleaner and the dusting, spray. And so it all was in a caddy that I could just carry around the house. And now I have one thing, one bottle, it cleans it all. It's like, so not only is it better for my health, but it's more economical and I don't have to store it. And I have 12 grandbabies. So the last thing I want to have to worry about is if they get under my sink or they get into the closet where all that cleaning stuff is stored, am I going to have to worry about them swallowing it, absorbing it into their skin? Any of those dangers that we have with our cleaning products, that's not a worry for me anymore.
Right. I mean, there are so many ways to clean that do not involve those chemicals. We can clean with baking soda, with vinegar.
Yes.
And really, that's basically it, with water and essential oils and a good sponge. And so we don't really need all these scented things.
We don't. I mean, you can use newspaper, old newspaper. If anybody even still gets,
Right.
the printed newspaper, you can use that to clean your windows with. You don't even need, there's so many hacks that you can use that are, like you said, vinegar and water are great. Hydrogen peroxide is a great alternative to use. Just soap and water is a fantastic cleaner. Now, there's a difference between cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing. There are 3 different levels. And right now, we're in a heightened alert to what is clean, what is disinfected, and what is sanitized, right?
Right. Absolutely. And that is a very important distinction to make right now. Just because something is clean does not mean it's sanitized or disinfected.
Right.
But there are ways to do that as well, with like you said, hydrogen peroxide, with bleach, and these type of things. These are good.
I don't recommend bleach. Bleach is
good.
very, very toxic to the respiratory system. And right now, the coronavirus attacks our respiratory system. So why would we want to add something into our environment that's going to harm that and make it weakened to begin with? So bleach is a no-go for me in my home. And again, what I choose to do is what I choose to do. It doesn't mean that that's what everybody has to do. But great alternatives for bleach is alcohol.
Oh,
So, whatever proof, and I'm talking go buy your alcohol, whatever proof alcohol it is, half of that is going to be what is the sanitizing methodology. So if you've got 85 proof, then about 40, just over 40% of that is going to be the alcohol content, and the sanitizing benefit of it, right? So in order for the CDC says we have to have anywhere from 40 to 65% alcohol in order to be a good sanitizer for our surfaces. So you can just use good old alcohol.
that's fantastic. And that's it's not exactly easy to find right now, but most households have that already.
Yes.
And it evaporates very quickly too.
Now, here's another kicker. Have you ever read the directions on, because a lot of people I see posting up and I'm going to call it out, but the Lysol Clorox wipes, right?
Right.
We think that's a great alternative. The biggest offender is schools, right? They all want you to send those with your kids because they want to clean the desks, surfaces with them. Well, number one, they are toxic. They are so full of toxins. I can't, and we're putting those around our children with their, forming bodies and their forming minds. Get it out. But if you turn them around and you read the directions, you have to keep the surface area wet for anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes for it to actually sanitize and cleanse that surface.
See, good to know. Good to know. But schools ask for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I used to use them, because it was a quick, easy. I get it. It's quick and easy. We just grab the wipe the surface down, but we don't keep it wet. We don't keep, for it to do its job. And they don't do it at school either. So we think we're doing a good job, but we're really not.
No, absolutely. And so in your podcast then, you break it down for us and talk about these various topics and some alternatives. So what are some alternatives that you use personally in the home? I know we've mentioned a few. Are there any that we've not mentioned?
Oh, sure. So first of all, I'm going to always look for products that are paraben-free, fragrance-free. I give you that tip right now. When you're buying your products, you want to make sure it's fragrance-free. Unscented is still the chemical filled product, and it's even more chemicals added to make it unscented. So unscented is not a good option. We want to, get rid of those. So look for fragrance-free, paraben-free, phthalate-free, products, and we're seeing more and more of those out on the shelves today. So I personally have a company that I know and trust. I don't buy many products off the shelves anymore. I go through, network marketing company. But there are some options out on the shelves too. So say you just want to go to a big box store, Walmart, for instance, there's a company called Shea Moisture. If you've ever looked and found them, they have body washes and they have shampoos and conditioners that are paraben-free, fragrance-free, phthalate-free, you name it, it's free, and it'll say right on their bottles. So now some of their products I find a little heavy on the fragrance. They say it's natural fragrancing, but my nose knows a little bit better just because I've been, synthetic fragrance free for a long time, but it's certainly a better option. So that's one company that I will tell people, hey, listen, if you just need to buy it off the shelf, it's a great option for you.
Shea Naturals.
Yeah, Shea Moisture.
Shea Moisture. Okay, good.
Yeah, Shea Moisture, SHEA Moisture. Now, the thing is that we have to watch for as consumers. I'm going to give you a couple really good tips right now because The problem we have when we're out shopping, and this is why I don't shop from a lot of the stores anymore. I go to third party, network marketing that I've investigated and I trust them. There's some great network marketing companies for makeup and for personal care, items. We have a term called greenwashing. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. What is that?
Okay, so we think about marketing. People when they're marketing things, they're coming at our emotions, right? So we see so many companies that say all natural. They say things like, "Oh, I'm just trying to even think of terms right off the top of my head."
Right, eco-friendly, green,
yeah, safe. They use terms, but if you turn those products around and start reading the labels, they're far from it. It's just like our food. We've learned to turn those labels around. We turn those products around and we start reading because we want to know what's the calorie, what's the fat content, what's the sodium content. What are the ingredients on there, right? If it's more than 5, maybe I don't want it. Is there, food coloring and dyes? So many different things that we look for in our food products. We've got to do the same thing with our personal care products. So we want to turn those labels around. Now, there's some people that will say, if you can't read it, you can't pronounce it, it probably isn't something you want to put on your body. And I don't ascribe to that because there are some things that I can't pronounce and are very good for our bodies. It's just the, technical chemical term for like baking soda. We wouldn't be able to pronounce that, but we can pronounce baking soda, right? So it's not necessarily that's true. So here's some great options for you. There are the Environmental Working Group is a wonderful organization that does tons of research. They have many, many scientists on their board, doctors, you name it, and they've researched many different products. They have a free app. There's 2 things I'm going to tell you about with Environmental Working Group. They have a free app called Healthy Living. You can download it on your phone, and then when you're out shopping, you can type in and you'll get a safety rating for that product.
That is so remarkable. My gosh, talk about easy.
Right. There's your Staples easy button, to push. Because, there's some people who are like, Aimee, I don't want to learn all of that. I don't want to know all the things that I need to avoid. Just tell me what to buy. Just, show me what to do. So the Healthy Living app is fantastic. Now, an even better one for a lot of personal care products is Think Dirty. So you can download that app onto your phone. And I encourage people, go into your cabinets right now and go look at your cleaning supplies and look at your personal care, inside your bathroom and in your laundry room, and just scan or type those in and see what those safety ratings are. Because those apps not only give you a safety rating, they also tell you why it got the rating that it got. So you'll start learning by going through those apps. It's fantastic resource. And then the Environmental Working Group also has there's tabs across the top of their website, and there's one that says water. So if you click on that, you can type your zip code in and it will tell you what's in your tap water.
That is great.
Yeah.
We found Flint, Michigan, of course. We started having us all questioning our tap water, questioning what we're drinking. And so that's
you should be.
reason. We should be, absolutely. Here in Kansas City, we actually, we make a lot of lists about having good water, but that is certainly not true of every place.
Right.
That's excellent. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I developed the 5 pillars of living a toxin-free lifestyle. And Because here's the thing, when we go down this rabbit hole, and I've been vomiting on you guys right now. I've been throwing a lot of information at you, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, right? We don't want to get to a spot where we're like, oh, there's nothing I can use. Everything is bad for me. I'm just not even going to try, right? That's a very real thing that can happen. And here's the thing. We are control of the four walls of our home, right? That's what we have control of. We can't control anything outside. So what we can do is learn to have an effect over what we're using every day, because what we use every day is going to have the biggest impact on our body. There's lots that we could focus on. Trust me. I go down that rabbit hole every single day, but we don't have to. Let's just focus on what we do every day.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness has a subscription-based premium content Facebook group? Think of it like the premium version of this free podcast. In this premium Facebook group, you can find great content like replays of online classes, meditations on angels, chakras, mindfulness, and more, guest speakers, mini classes, polls, plus you'll be the first to know of guests that we have scheduled for the podcast and can submit questions for them. You get all of this great content for one low monthly price, and the first month is half off. You can subscribe by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/shop. Click the subscriptions button and you're in. Also, while I have your attention, wherever you're listening to this free podcast, if you could just do us a couple of favors, please. One is go to hit the subscribe or follow button. Then you'll be notified of all of the episodes we have coming out each week. Also, please rate and review. It sounds really simple, but it helps us to grow our audience when people are looking for great podcasts. And when we grow our audience, we can do bigger and better things and bring you even more great guests. So please do those couple of things, and that will help us grow this audience and this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
So what we're exposed to every day is our food, our water, our air inside our home. Absorb. What are we absorbing on the skin and mentally? You know, what's going on in that little old head of ours, right? That's causing some issues for us. You know, stress is a really bad thing for the body. Yeah. So when we break it down into those 5 pillars, we make it real easy, to be able to start making an impact on our overall health, because that's what we want to do. We want to have vitality. We want to feel good. We want to have that energy and be able to sleep and enjoy life without feeling,
it can be overwhelming too, right? Yeah. Exactly. And like you said, you kind of get that analysis paralysis, and that's just as bad as having all this toxic load on us.
So exactly.
You said, you said 7 years ago, you started discovering all of this and understanding the toxic load that we're carrying. So how are you feeling now? Has this resolved some of your health issues?
It resolved every single one of them. And it took me years. I did it bit by bit. I was like dipping my toes in the water. I went really
shampoo. Yep. You can see layer by layer, right?
Exactly. There are some people, depending on what's going on with you, and I had a lot of issues going on with me, but I just took it the easy button. I wanted to take it a step at a time. We're just removing things a little bit at a time. I started by getting essential oils in my home. And so by doing that, the kit that I started with really became my new medicine cabinet. I didn't purchase anything over the counter anymore because I could use essential oils for everything that was going on with my body. I also, because of a diffuser, and I've got one going behind me now, I was able to remove synthetic fragrances from the home. I didn't do candles anymore. I didn't do the plugins or the sprays, those type of things. So I was able to start seeing some impact bit by bit. But it took, I want to say 2.5 to even 3 years. Even today, I'm still replacing products in my home that are, we're talking like material, products in the home. I'm learning all the time. So it's always a learning curve.
Right. We can always make improvements, right?
Absolutely.
I am all for the small changes lead to big shifts.
Absolutely. It's one little step at a time, and you'll start. And here's the thing. What happens to us is toxic overload happens over time. So what happens to us is, you asked, how do I feel now? What happened 7-10 years ago, I ran half marathons. I was very fit. I would tell you I felt good, other than the headaches and the reproductive issues that I was having and the migraines. For the most part, I would say I had felt, pretty okay. What happens is we don't realize how bad we feel. It happens so slowly that our body adapts to how we're feeling. It adapts to that toxicity that we have in our bodies. So when we remove it, we feel fantastic. My skin has never been better. My hair grows fast. I sleep. I have focus. I'm 55 and I feel better than I did in my 30s today. And I had no idea how bad I felt until I felt better. Does that make sense?
Oh, I hear that a lot, that people have no idea how bad they felt until they felt great. In my opinion, if we are sleeping and going to the bathroom, that's about half of the problem, right?
Yeah. Well, I had an interesting conversation with my dad. I just spent better than a month with my parents, because my mom just had a transplant surgery. And my dad was talking about, they have, of course, the transplant surgery, my mom's medicine, thing is gigantic and necessary, right? I am not anti-medicine by any stretch of the imagination, but my dad has one too. And he was talking about keeping the meds, straight. And I had made some sort of comment, because I'm 55, I'm not on any medications. My husband's 65 and not on any medications either. And I said, it doesn't have to be like that, Dad. And he's like, oh, it is. It's just the aging process. It's everybody, does it. I'm like, thinking to myself, no, not everybody, because they don't ascribe to my lifestyle, and I wasn't going to argue with them. But it was, that is a mentality. When we age, we're going to have aches and pains. When we age, we're going to just be on medications for cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, whatever the ailment may be. And that's simply not true. We don't have to go down that road if we choose not to.
No, we don't. We absolutely don't. Our bodies were designed to feel good and to feel healthy. It's many times our environment, not just our toxins around us, but also the mental aspect of it, the stress.
Yes.
Cause of many stress-related illnesses within the body. We're not designed to do that. And so, in your work, in your podcast, you talk about all kinds of really interesting things. I was just looking at your weekly blog, and you're talking about like biohacking and ozone treatment and filtering water and mitochondria testing. I mean, you get into it.
I get, and that is the beauty of doing what I do. I've had so many experts and doctors and healers and practitioners on. It's open. I thought 6 years ago I was in a pretty good spot, and then over the last year, my mind has just been really open to so many different things and biohacking. I am really into biohacking and learning more and more about the biohacking world right now.
What is that?
So biohacking is simply taking a system of you can biohack your sleep, your diet, your health. You can biohack is simply making something easier. That's all it is. And so my good friend Donna Hagen, whose episode just aired this week, she is the biohacking queen. And in fact, we were supposed to be in a conference, a biohacking conference, but because of the COVID-19 virus, we're not there right now, but we will be. And I'm super excited. But there's things we can do to biohack. Getting rid of toxins, biohacking.
Sure.
That's biohacking.
Sure, absolutely. And I think when we first start thinking about it, we think, oh, okay, I'm not surrounded by toxins. I don't work in the automotive industry. I don't use these industrial solvents and things. I don't live near a coal-fired power plant. I don't, But then when we start to really look at it, we do see all of the areas where we can make improvements. And there's always ways to make improvements, right?
Absolutely. Always. We always can make, some change, to help us out, whether it's something that we do in the types of foods that we eat. Because I'm all for eat. Eat. I follow an intermittent fasting, meal plan is what I do. So during a 6-hour window, I eat what I want. Of course, I eat clean, the best that I can. Sometimes I fall off the wagon, if you will. I don't like to say it that way, but what was it? Last week I was over at my parents' house helping out, and Mom had in the freezer some of those peanut butter, what are they? Reese's peanut butter Easter eggs.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, you're terrible. And I had like a couple when it's like potato chips. You can't just eat one because they're little. And so I had a couple. And so then I just, it's okay. That's okay to eat that. We can't, when we deprive ourselves of all of the good stuff, if you will, then we want it more. And then we feel broken because we don't have it. And I just think we have to do things in moderation, certain things in moderation. And if you follow kind of the 80-20 rule, you're going to be in good shape.
Well, tell me about the 80-20 rule.
So if 80% of the time you're doing all the things that are going to be fueling your body, you're doing, because we're either contributing to disease or we're eliminating disease. In all the choices that we make in our life, right? From, the products that we use to the food choices that we make to the water that we use, all of that either contributes or it eliminates disease. And in today's world, we have to be thinking about that. 6 out of 10 adults have a chronic disease. That's scary numbers. 4 out of 10 of them are multiple chronic diseases. So we're either contributing or we're eliminating it, one way or the other. Right. So if we follow an 80-20 rule where 80% of the time we're doing all the right things, we're making all the right choices to help eliminate that disease, then if 20% of the time, we have that piece of cake, we have that sugar, because sugar is a huge inflammatory to the body. But if, you do it 20% of the time, then you're okay. If 20% of the time you go and you get, that facial and you don't know necessarily what products are used, you're not doing that every day. If you go get, I'm not saying don't do the things that you enjoy and bring joy to your life. Do that, but just use a feasible rule of the 80-20.
No, that makes sense. And that is perfectly doable.
Yeah.
In every aspect of our life, whether it's, and I think you bring up a very good point of, it's not just the skincare, but it's the styling products, it's the makeup, it's the nail stuff.
Oh yeah.
There are so many. If we just look through our house and we just see all the products that we use, there are toxins in each and every one, right? And so the 80-20 rule I think is good, because when we deny ourselves, just like that's what we want, right?
Well, and we have to remember there's that fifth pillar of mental. And so we have to be careful and cognizant of the mental aspect of all of this, right? So if we're depriving ourselves, or what I hear a lot of times too, well, all of that is it doesn't taste good, or and that's simply not true either. You can find great ways to eat and fuel the body that are nourishing to you. Healthy eating is always just so bland and doesn't taste good, and that's simply not true. So it's just finding the right fit for you. But when we feel like, that's why diets don't work, right? Because our mental aspect of it is we're depriving our bodies, we're depriving ourselves of something that we want, we desire. So let's not do that. Let's just say, you know what? And when I first started, food was a big one for me. And when it took me a long time to get there, and I had to start really, really slow. Like, okay, one meal a week is going to be whole foods, and that's where I started, was one meal a week. And then it went to, several meals a week. And then it was one meal a day. And, so you just walk yourself through that process rather than trying to go all at once.
Right. The little baby steps, making the small changes that lead to the bigger growth.
Right.
I wanted to go back to the 5 pillars. I want to make sure that we touched each and every one of them. So can you break those 5 down for us again?
Sure. We've got air, food, water, absorption, and mental.
Oh, okay. So the absorption is what we're taking in through our skin and through our digestive tract?
Right. No, I say absorption is the skin, because I covered food, so when we talk about food, that is, coming in through the digestive system that we're ingesting into the body. So absorption really plays more part of the personal care products that we're using, the laundry soaps, that our clothes are sitting on our skin, what are we absorbing through that? That's what I'm talking about in absorption. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's good. And I mean, I can tell, I've been using dye-free, fragrance-free laundry detergent for years. My daughter as well. She's got very sensitive skin too. Mm-hmm. And, if I ever am visiting somewhere and someone washes my clothes, I can tell right away. Right?
Exactly.
It's amazing. When you do eliminate those toxins and then when you reintroduce them, you really do notice, don't you?
You really do. I find it very difficult to go down a cleaning aisle of the grocery store or the laundry aisle of a grocery store. There's so much off-gassing with the fragrance, that synthetic fragrance, that once you remove that, you'll really notice it and you will smell it.
And I feel that's true of the foods too, that
Yes.
The cleaner you eat, then when you do slip up or you do have something that's at 20%, you notice it a lot more.
Well, and what's happened to me, for instance, sugar. So sugar is one of those really high inflammation in the body type deals. And so we want to eliminate as much sugar as we possibly can out of our diet. And what I found is the further I go along with not eating sugar on a regular basis, when I do, for instance, birthday parties, graduations, weddings, there's always the cake there. I just find it overwhelming. And I can only eat a small piece or portion of the cake because it is so rich and so my body just doesn't like it. So what I used to like, oh yeah, give me 3 pieces, I can't eat that anymore. And that's okay. I have found great sugar replacements instead of using, even like brown sugar has, I think, 1/3 the sugar content in it than what regular processed sugar has in it. I find that eating fresh fruits satisfies my sweet tooth. So I'm getting sugar, but it's a natural form of sugar. It's not a processed sugar. If you like to add sugar to things, there's honey and maple syrup, and date syrup is great as well, that you can just, add to oatmeal, add to your coffee, add to, those things that we like to sweeten.
Right. No, that's an excellent point. There are so many alternatives out there. And I know I'm gluten-free as well. I've got a gluten allergy. And at first I thought it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
So I just thought, I can't do this. But there are so many alternative things that you can eat that don't contain it, and even don't contain sugar. And you don't, honestly, if it's done right, you don't even really miss it at all.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
we've got so many options.
Right. And like, oh my gosh, I was the queen of soda. Used to always drink soda, and I can't. It's like, it's the no-go, for me. And, that just takes time. Your body adapts to being in a toxic mode and not feeling well, and your body adapts to being healthy too. It goes the other way too, where when you are used to making all those healthy choices, then when you introduce something that's not prime for the body, your body says, not such a good choice.
That is an excellent point. And one I think that we forget sometimes is that our body is wonderfully adaptive and can adapt to that as well. No, I think that's wonderful. So before we hop off here, is there anything that you feel like is really important to reiterate, something maybe we may have missed, or anything that you would like to add?
Oh my gosh, we've covered so much, and you've talked about a lot in the house. And I just want people to understand, don't let this overwhelm you, and that chronic disease, because this is why I got into this, was because of chronic disease. And chronic disease absolutely is controlled by our lifestyle, what we choose to eat, how we're moving our body, and what environmental toxins we're exposed to. So it's important that we look at it all in order to have that healthy body. But again, don't let it overwhelm you. You have people and tools that you can use to walk through that process. One of the things that I offer out to people free is a toxic risk assessment. So if you want to take that, just go to it's just bit.ly/toxic risk, and you can take it. It's free. It'll help you understand the exposures you might be having within your home. It takes less than 5 minutes, and it's kind of an eye-opener, for people to take. And once you do that, you're also going to get my home toxic-free shopping guide from me. Mm-hmm. And you can also set up a free call with me if you want to just talk about questions that you have, maybe first steps that you need to take. I'm happy to guide you through that.
Oh, that is wonderful. And I do want to put a plug in for your website, because when you go to your website, you can also sign up for this toxic risk assessment.
Yes.
And that is aimeecarlson.com, and that's AIMEE Carlson, CARLSON.com. And there's your podcast is on there under the weekly blog. You've got the free toxic risk assessment on there, just all kinds of resources, as well as your list of your favorite toxin-free products. So that is, I think, is very helpful. You've got a great website there.
Thank you. Yeah, you can go to the website. We'll connect you with everything. I think my social media is connected through there as well. I did have a lot of YouTube videos being produced, and I kind of switched editing and production company with the podcast, but we're going back to a different company. So you're going to start seeing a lot more videos on my YouTube channel, and that is linked through. I think it's down now, but it'll be going back up. And I'm going to be doing a lot of DIY. So if you want to learn how to make some, DIY things, some alternate things that you want to do, I'm going to be doing a lot of that type of thing on the YouTube channel as well.
I love it. And could you please tell us again those two apps that you liked?
Yes. So Think Dirty. And it has it's kind of a black little icon, and it says, the white letters of Think Dirty, and then Healthy Living, and that's a green app with white letters on it as well, so that when you're in your app stores that you have the right one. And either one of those are fantastic to use to see how, go around to your home right now, what you currently have. And it might open up your brain to, not such good choices.
Right. Excellent advice. Thank you, Aimee Carlson. That was just like so enlightening and informative. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Christy, for having me on. I sure like to talk about this, obviously, and hope that I've provided some information and value for all your listeners. Thank you.
No, I think you have. All right. Fantastic.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.